l'eau chêne, l'eau par l'eau fontaine, toutes les haleines deviennent de vent. Pour son âme, l'enfant son chai, le foyer s'enflamme, le luth son archer. Folie ou démence, dans ce monde immense, chacun recommence ce qu'il est bouché.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Wilson. I use he, him pronouns, and as the Congregational Life Coordinator, it is my pleasure to welcome you this morning to this blustery, multi-generational winter solstice service here at the First Universalist Church of Rochester. If you are here for the first time or maybe the second time, we especially welcome you and invite everybody to remain after the service for coffee hour. We've got technically 3 locations today, in the Clara Barton Lounge, online in the same Zoom link, and in the back of the sanctuary, we're continuing week 2 of our 2-week experiment. So if you need a little bit of a wiggle zone area after you get some caffeine, that's the station for you. There's a visitor's form on the back of your order of service. We invite you to fill that out if you haven't already so that you can stay up to date as to what's going on here and so we can offer you a welcome beyond what we can this morning. Just a reminder that Christmas Eve service will take place this Wednesday, December 24th at 7 p.m. with a musical prelude by members of the congregation starting at 6:30. This service also includes a no lines, no rehearsal, no pressure pageant for children and adults to participate in. There's an opportunity to be shepherds, wise strangers, angels, parents, a whole variety of farm animals too. If you know you'd like to participate, you can talk with Reverend Eileen after the service today. If you're not sure, you can always wait till Christmas Eve. Just make sure to arrive by 6:45 for planning purposes. We'll also need a couple adults to help with coordination, volunteering kind of behind the scenes. So if you're more of a backstage person, we've got a role for you as well. Also a reminder, if you have a big joy or sorrow in your heart this morning, to write it up here in the notebook on the chancel before the chalice is lit or online. Now would be a good time to do that. So some announcements. I'll direct your attention to the order of service. We still have some volunteers needed for childcare and religious education. As we continue to grow, we're looking for more people to help us staff that. So if you're interested, you can see me, you can see Connie, you can see Miss Carol in the back there to learn more. Today is the last Sunday for Handmade Holiday, so if something has caught your eye, now is the time. And lastly, just a reminder that it'll be here before you know it. The service auction is February 1st. Okay, before we take a moment to turn towards our neighbor, let's take a moment and say hi to our online community, our worshiping community there, offering a wave towards the camera and the Progress Pride flag in the back corner there. We're certainly glad you're joining us this morning. And if you are here in person, now's the time. We're going to take a moment and say hello to our neighbors.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Eileen, she, her. I want to invite you, if you're still standing, to stay standing, and if not, to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our first hymn. And a note about this first hymn, number 357 in the gray hymnal, UURoc has included some more inclusive language on the screens in front of you, if you want to use the language on the screens. And if you're feeling particularly sassy this morning and you have a pen or a pencil on you, you could deface your hymnal to add that more inclusive language as we sing. Let's sing together.
Good morning, church family. I'm Kitty Forbush, your worship associate for this morning, and I use she, her pronouns. When I was a little girl, I told my mother that I truly believed that God had the universe tucked into a shoebox that he had hidden under his bed. Apparently, the enormity of the night sky completely overwhelmed me. Years later, when lying on a dock on a lake in Canada, gazing at the Milky Way, trying to comprehend that the light from the stars had taken thousands of years to get to me, again I felt infinitesimal and minuscule. What I've come to realize is that we all are stars, shining in our own lives, sometimes more brightly than other times, but shining nonetheless. The light that shines from this gathered fellowship is the light of truth, kindness, and love, things our universe needs so much more of. So let us all let our light shine on this winter solstice, the dark night that is the longest, and where we honor the Native American tradition of the 4 directions: the East for beginnings and wisdom, the South for growth and warmth, the West for change and endings, and the North for challenges and cleansing. Come, let us shine and worship together. As Lisa Gwinner comes forward to light our chalice at First Universalist, and you light a chalice in your own homes, please join me in our chalice lighting words spoken in unison.
May we be a people of welcome here.
Though in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community.
Good morning. Before I light the chalice, we're going to do I'm a little loud, I think. First of all, my name is Lisa Gwinner, and my pronouns are she, her. I would love, if possible, the company of some curious young folks right up here for a chat about today's service. Anybody feeling chatty? Feeling chatty? Come on up. I know I've got some helpers out there, too, including Kitty. Yay. Thank you. Oh, yay. Good, good. So today, we're going to celebrate in this service the winter solstice. What's the winter solstice? Does anybody know? What is it? Yeah, that's right. It's the darkest day of the year because it's the longest night and the shortest day, right? Yeah, thank you. You may have noticed that this time of year, when the nights grow so long, we have a lot of celebrations of light. Have you noticed that there's a lot of celebrations of light this time of year? Can you tell me about any of the, what are some of the little...
When it's like a really short time,
Mm-hmm.
and you go out and like you wear these special sunglasses.
Oh, you're thinking of an eclipse, I think. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes there are eclipses this time of year. I'm thinking of more like holidays that we celebrate, that different religions celebrate this time of year. What's a holiday that we're celebrating right now? Can anybody tell me? What holiday are Jewish people celebrating as we speak? Yes. Hanukkah, that's right. And that's known as a festival of light. What's the one we're all looking forward to this week? Christmas, that's right. And that's also considered to be a celebration of light. And then today we're celebrating the winter solstice. Who celebrates the solstice? Can anybody tell me who celebrates the solstice? Right there. Pagans, that's right. Pagans and Wiccans are two of the communities that celebrate the solstice. And UUs often do as well, because according to our sources of our living tradition, we acknowledge the spiritual teachings of earth-centered religions and earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So, I mean, the rhythms of nature, a solstice, our longest night and our shortest day, is one of those rhythms of nature's. So, in the Wiccan and pagan religious traditions, celebrating the solstice is not just another way to light up the dark, the longest night, with a fire or a candle. It's also an invitation to explore the darkness, to move past our fears and find the peace, comfort, and rest that darkness can bring. In the Wiccan tradition, which I'm most familiar with, we begin celebrations and rituals, like worship services, by creating a sacred space. It's known as calling the quarters because we call in the spirits of nature, earth, fire, air, and water, whom we believe live at the 4 cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west, to help us create our sacred space. So what we're going to do today, I know y'all are going to help me. To call in the spirits, we're going to stand in body or spirit and face the direction we're calling and respectfully ask for the presence of the spirits. We use our imaginations and also a physical representation of the element to help our imaginations. So we're also going to light a candle or kindle a light to represent the Spirit's presence with us during our worship service. So please would everybody rise in body or spirit and face, most of you will be facing the east, where we're going to begin to call the spirits of air. And while Adelaide, Hazel, and Jane, come here, would you? Adelaide, Hazel, and Jane. While you all take turns. Ooh, we got to get this out of there. Here we go. Somebody grab that. While we all take, here, somebody, yeah, why don't you hold it as well? You got it. Thanks, sweetie. So what we're going to do is Adelaide, Hazel, and Jane are going to blow some bubbles, and we're all going to imagine what air feels like to us. Wind or a hurricane, a bird in flight, or a seed floating to a new home. Sorry, there we go. I will light the chalice and ask the spirits of the air, we ask you to come here and help us to create sacred space. We thank you for your clarity and wisdom as we worship. Blessed be. All right, if the bubble blowers would put the lid back on the bubbles. Thank you. Here, you can put the wand inside. It's a bit messy, isn't it? Thank you for your help. I know you're going to help me again. All right. Now, what we're going to do next is everybody turn right, and we're going to face the south, where we're going to call the spirits of fire to us, while Kitty lights a candle in that window there. Imagine fire. What does fire feel like? Is it a bonfire, or is it the warmth of the sun? Spirits of fire, we ask you to join us here and help us to create sacred space. We thank you for your warmth and wisdom as we worship. Blessed be. Now, if everybody would turn to the back of the sanctuary, and I'm going to make my way to the back, so if y'all could scoot over just a little bit. Excuse me. Toot, toot. And I think I need a lily back there with me, too. Here we go. We're going to face the west now, where the spirits of the water live. While Kitty kindles this light, and Lily places some seashells somewhere. There you go. Thank you, sweetie. We're going to imagine water, and you could maybe put them over there probably. We're going to imagine water. Yeah, that's fine. What does water feel like to you? Is it a sparkling stream in the woods or a mighty ocean? How does water feel? Spirits of water, we ask for your help to create sacred space for our worship. We thank you for your turbulent wisdom. Blessed be. All right, everybody, time to turn to the right for the last time. I'm going to head front. And Jane, if you would come up with me. Excuse me.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to turn on the light. And Jane, I'm going to ask you to place the plant and the candle in that window right over there. There's plenty of room, the middle one. And we're facing the north to call the spirits of earth. While Jane places the plants, try to imagine the earth. Is it a garden full of life or a cave deep and mysterious? Imagine what earth means to you. Spirits of earth, we ask for your presence as we create sacred space. We thank you for your strength and wisdom as we worship. Blessed be. Now the sacred circle has been drawn. May we worship in peace. Thank you, everybody, for your help. Blessed be. Let's get this solstice going.
Please rise again in body or spirit. Up and down and up and down. For our affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. In our world, many voices are silenced. Many truths remain unspoken because the speaker fears rejection, judgment, or even worse. Our financial offerings today help sustain this congregation as a place where all voices can be heard, where truth can be spoken without fear, where vulnerability is met with compassion. We give in gratitude for this beloved community and hope for a world where more voices can shine and speak their truth. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please place your offering in the offering basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors' forms in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity.
It's been a long, dark night, and I've been waiting for the morning. It's been a long, hard fight, but I see a brand new day a-dawning. I've been looking for the sunshine, 'cause I ain't seen it in so long. Everything's gonna work out fine. Everything's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay. I can see the light of a clear blue morning. I can see the light of a brand new day. I can see the light of a clear blue morning.
And now it's time for a story. So if you're a young person or even an older person and you'd like to hear the story from right up here in front, I want to invite you to come forward now as we get ready to tell the story, or to come forward or go back to your seat at any time during the story. You are free to move your body how you need to. This story, I think there's one picture to go with this story. Right up here. Can everybody see the picture? And it's a picture of a star cluster that you can see in the sky tonight if it's clear enough, if it's not too cloudy. It's in our winter skies in this hemisphere. And this is a story from long, long ago that people told about this cluster of stars that we call the Pleiades. And we call them that because of this story. It comes from Greek mythology, and it goes like this. The Pleiades were 7 young companions of Artemis, the goddess of hunting and the moon. And while they were stalking a deer, they were hunters like Artemis. They found that someone else was stalking a deer, the great mortal hunter Orion, who crept into their sunlit glade and instead of the deer started stalking them. So they ran away. They fled in alarm, and he ran after them. He chased them all across the earth, the story says, and they started to get tired, but they kept running and running and running from the hunter, whose constellation we also see right next to the Pleiades in the sky. So in frustration, the goddess Artemis pleaded with her father Zeus, the king of the gods, for his intervention. As the hunter closed in on the sisters who were getting more and more tired but did not stop running, Zeus transformed them into a flock of doves, and they flew up off the earth into the heavens beyond the reach of Orion and straight into the night sky where they shone like stars. Artemis was enraged by this separation from her dear companions, and she vowed revenge against the hunter Orion. So Apollo, her brother, was persuaded to set a monstrous scorpion to attack Orion. And you can't see it in this picture, but there is a constellation that we call the Scorpion right behind Orion. So as further punishment for him and to appease his daughter a little bit, Zeus set Orion in the sky, up in the heavens, to remain there, always pursuing the Pleiades and never catching them. So he was to hang there in the night sky with the scorpion chasing him for all of eternity. And then Electra, the smallest sister, who was an ancestor of the royal house of Troy, the story tells us, was stricken with grief at having left Earth. She left her sisters in the sky and transformed into a comet, her tears trailing through the heavens as she came back to Earth. And Artemis did find some relief, because the path of the moon in the heavens of the winter sky passes so close to the Pleiades that Artemis, goddess of the moon, of course, had a reunion with them every night. And this is the end of our first story this morning, but there are more stories to come, just not right now. So I invite you to move back to your seats or to the wiggle zone as you feel comfortable as we sing our doxology together. Let us sing it now. And as you're all seated, I want to invite us into a reverent time of sharing the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from a more heart-centered place. We know that so much is going on in our world today, and if you have sorrows or joys to share on behalf of our national or global or local community, you are encouraged to do so today and in the future. As Kitty places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our community this morning. We share in sorrow with John Lukes, who had to visit the hospital yesterday after a fall and is sore and swollen today. We share a gratitude and a joy for this time near Christmas. We share a joy with Joy that today is her sister's 75th birthday, and a second joy that her son will spend Christmas with her and her daughter and her husband. We share the sorrow for a friend who lives in Florida and has suffered a bad accident with many injuries. We share so much joy and gratitude with Marty, who lifts up her thankfulness for her church family, especially Dwight and Willow, for their help last week, the compassion of the RPD, Elizabeth and Felix, and many helpful strangers. We share gratitude with MJ for the care and help from the church after a back injury and hard surgery. We share so many sorrows with the Ayers family over the loss of their son, and gratitude that we could be here to hold them through his memorial yesterday. We share with Alex love for friends and family. We share with Zeppelin the loss of a friendship after a big move and housing crisis and living with friends. We share gratitude and gratefulness with Eileen, who is glad to be here and whose daughter Anita is helping to care for Jose. And we share with one congregant joy simply for their mom. Today, we also share in a community ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows we bring into this space, whether we've read them aloud or we keep them in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. In a moment, those here in person are invited to come forward to drop stones into the bowl. If you need to remain seated, you can raise your hand, and someone will come to you with a bowl and stones to drop in it. If you are joining us online, please send a heart emoji into the meeting chat. Let us join in this collective ritual of honoring the joys and sorrows of us all now. I invite you now into a time of centering and prayer, followed by some shared silence. Let's take a deep breath and show up right where we are. Here in this moment, in this place, holding one another. Spirit of life, may this ritual of joys and sorrows remind us, as always, that we humans contain multitudes. May we remind one another, as always, that we humans have always gazed out into the darkness that itself contains multitudes. It wasn't meant to be a prayer, but it feels like one. So I'd like to share with you this poem by poet laureate Ada Limon. She wrote this poem for Europa, the moon of Jupiter, and the poem is recorded on a disc hurling its way through space right now, on its way to Europa on a NASA probe. And this is what she wrote. Arching under the night sky, inky with black expansiveness, we point to the planets we know. We pin quick wishes on stars. From Earth, we read the sky as if it is an unerring book of the universe, expert and evident. Still, there are mysteries below our sky, the whale song, the songbird singing its call in the bough of a wind-shaken tree. We are creatures of constant awe, curious at beauty, at leaf and blossom, at grief and pleasure, sun and shadow. And it is not darkness that unites us, not the cold distance of space, but the offering of water, each drop of rain, each rivulet, each pulse, each vein. O second moon, we too are made of water, of vast and beckoning seas. We too are made of wonders, of great and ordinary loves, of small invisible worlds, of a need to call out through the dark. Amen. Blessed be. Our hymn of contemplation this morning is 1055, How Sweet the Darkness. And now it's time for a second of 3 stories, just so you can be ready. If you'd like to listen to the story up front, you are invited to do that now or at any time during the story to come forward. And if you're tired of going back and forth, that's also okay. This story, I have a picture to go with. It is a story from long, long ago. We might have a picture to go with. I'll give you a hint. It's the same picture, in case you didn't see it before. This is a story from long, long ago in North America about this cluster of stars that we call the Pleiades, but were known by a different name here at that time. And this constellation that we call Orion, who has looked like a hunter to lots of people all over the world and all across time. This is a story from the Haudenosaunee people, and it is called The Dance of the Seven Sisters, and it goes like this. Long ago, when the earth and the sky were new, 7 sisters lived in a village, and these sisters loved to dance. Does anybody love to dance? I'm so glad. Me too. Every day, these sisters danced together in the forest, and wherever one sister went, all the others followed. They loved to be together. And every evening, the sisters returned to their longhouse to rest, but by morning, they were ready to dance again. One evening, as the sun began to set, the sisters heard in the distance a glorious song. The song seemed to be calling to them, and in a moment, they forgot about their suppers and they forgot about their home. They stood and listened, and then, without speaking a word or thinking a thought, they started dancing. They danced and they twirled and they stomped their feet and they moved toward the source of the song. They danced off through the woods into the forest. On they danced as the sun started to dip toward the horizon, and then they heard the sound of a hunter behind them in the forest, a hunter who was also following the call of this song. So they danced faster and faster. They spun and they stomped their feet faster and faster. They danced anxiously toward the sound that they heard. And suddenly, as they danced faster and faster and faster, their feet felt lighter. And when they looked down, they saw that they were actually in the air, that everything they knew was down far below them, that they were twirling and dancing up into the sky. They danced on higher and higher, moving toward this beautiful sound and away from the hunter behind them, and the song grew louder and more beautiful and more mysterious. Down below them, they could see the longhouse where their family lived, and the trees and their friends, and they all seemed to be getting smaller and smaller. And then the voice became a sweet and gentle song that sang, "I came to the sky, for a hunter pursued me as well, and now I live in the sky. Come, sisters, come here to me in the sky, and I will watch over you." And then the sisters saw who was singing the song. It was a great black bear. And if you've looked up at the night sky and seen this cluster of stars called the Pleiades and this cluster that we usually call a hunter, you might know that beyond the Pleiades, there is a constellation that lots of people call the Great Bear. This bear was there with them in the sky, and her tail glistened, for it was made of stars. And she wore a shimmering necklace of stars, and her nose and her toes and her eyes twinkled with stars, and around her belly hung a belt of shining stars. And the girls danced closer and closer as the bear kept singing. On she sang, and on they danced, twirling together. And after many, many hours of dancing in the sky, the sisters noticed how very dark it was and how far they had traveled, and they couldn't quite remember the way home. But the smallest sister heard a voice. She heard it over the sound of the song and the tapping of her sister's feet, and she knew it was her mother's voice calling, "Come back." The 6 sisters said, "Don't go. We live in the sky now. But the littlest sister started racing home to her mother. She ran home, and as she did, she became a shooting star with starlight trailing behind her as she sailed back down to the earth. But the other sisters stayed in the sky. They stayed and danced with the great bear, afraid of going back down to the earth. They pledged to stay in the sky with the bear for all of their days, and so they did. And that is the end of our second story. But I have one more story for you. This third story, I have a picture to go with, and you guessed it. It's this picture. This is a story from long, long ago and far away. It's a story by the Aboriginal people of Australia about this cluster of stars that we call the Pleiades, but went by a different name there and then. And they are a summer constellation in Australia, right above the horizon, just like they are here in the winter. And the story goes like this. There were 7 sisters. Can you believe it? There were 7 sisters who were out in the bush, and a hunter came along. This hunter had just finished his coming-of-age ritual, and he was out exploring the bush on his own for the very first time. And he saw the group of 7 sisters, and any guesses what he did? He chased them. In this story, he's not hunting them, but he's fallen in love with one of them. But it really has the same effect, I'm afraid to say, for the sisters, because they were not interested in this hunter who had just become a man. And so the 7 sisters, not even knowing which one of them he decided he was in love with from afar, started running. They ran, and he chased. He called out that he wanted her to be his wife, and they, not sure which one of them he was even talking to, kept running. They ran through the bush. He chased them over the land. They went over boulders and through ditches and across the desert, and they climbed up a huge rock as they ran, and they realized at the edge of this huge rock that they had nowhere to go, and the hunter was right behind them. And so what they did was jump. They jumped and they landed not on the ground far below the rock, but in the sky, just above the horizon. The hunter continued to chase them into the sky, and they kept running, knowing that he would never catch them now that they were stars. And that's where they remain today. And that is the end of our third story. And so if you'd like to stay up front, you're welcome to. But if you'd like to make your way back to your seat, of course, you can always take care of your bodies however you need, whenever you need. You probably noticed that I told you 3 suspiciously similar stories today. We could maybe even say that I just told the same story 3 times, over and over again. And I promise it wasn't a ploy to help me remember the details a little better today. In fact, there are folk stories from dozens of other cultures around the world about that cluster of 7 stars just above the horizon on the winter sky, in our hemisphere anyway, marking the change in seasons. Their rising times were an important indicator of the beginning of the cold season, when animals would start to migrate and hunting peoples would migrate too. And all over the world, people have looked up into the darkness at this time of year, the beginning of winter, and told stories about that particular cluster of stars. The curious thing about these stories, as we heard, is that they all sound remarkably alike, like really remarkably. 7 girls or women, usually sisters, are running from a hunter, or sometimes an animal or an enemy or a prospective spouse, and they are cast off the edge of the horizon into the night sky to become this constellation of stars that we call the Pleiades, named after the girls in that Greek version of the story. And then often, one sister leaves, comes back to Earth, or goes to hide somehow. And this Seven Sisters tale shows up in the folklore of indigenous people across the Americas, in Northern Europe, in the Middle East, in India, in stories from the South Pacific, just to name a few of the places. And here's the really curious thing. Do you want to know a really fun fact? Only 6 of the Pleiades are visible without a telescope. There are 7 stars in the cluster. In fact, there are more than 7 if you have a really powerful telescope. You can see 36. But with just a regular old Galileo first-run telescope, you can see 7 stars. But it wasn't until relatively recently that we knew that. One of the stars in that 7 is so close to its neighbor in our visual field that they appear as the same star when we're looking. So why is this story told all around the world in very much the same way? And how did all of these storytellers think to include 7 sisters when only 6 of them can be seen? Mostly we don't really know. I'm sorry if you came to church this morning looking for certainty, spiritual or anthropological. I have to admit you will find more questions than answers on any given Sunday here. But there is a theory. It is just a theory, a story itself, really. But I like it, and I want to share it with you. Astrophysicist Ray Norris has written a paper comparing the Greek and the Aboriginal stories in particular, 2 of the tales that we told this morning, and 2 of the tales that cannot be explained by modern cultural exchange, because we have physical evidence that both of these stories were being told long before either group met the other. You see, since we're moving through the universe, and the stars that we see are also moving through the universe, the 7th star was once in a position to be observed in the night sky by humans without technology. And Norris calculated that the last time it was in that position was 100,000 years ago or so, before human migration out of Africa had begun. So his theory is this: maybe this story is older than that. Maybe this is one of the oldest stories that we still tell. Maybe some of our very oldest ancestors carried this story with them across the world. Maybe they passed it to their children's children's children, and we have been telling it across humanity ever since. We can't know for sure. But we do know this: for as long as humans have been a species, we have been struck by wonder when we look out into the darkness of the universe. We have been compelled to tell stories, to make meaning out of what we see there. And sometimes we're right about what we observe and the wisdom we interpret in it. Most times, well, every time so far, we also have had more to learn. And that's the beauty of wonder. Being sure, being right isn't part of it. Good science and good faith do the same thing. They orient us in wonder toward what we do not know. They ask us to turn ourselves away from certainty and toward the vast and open dark. Sometimes we come to church looking for answers. Am I right? Sometimes I do it. You can admit it. We all do. Sometimes we come looking for certainty about the nature of God or ourselves or the universe. But when we're at our best, we know that that's not what we need from church. What we need is a spiritual life that orients us in wonder toward what we do not understand. A community where we are invited to let go of our individual certainty about the boundless mystery of this world, so that we might be transformed by that mystery together. Here is something about the vastness of the universe that Kitty imagined in a shoebox. If we recruited 80 million people, 80 million tireless souls to stare into our most powerful telescopes and each count a star a second, so that's 80 million stars every second, how long do you think it would take for us to count every star that exists? Any guesses? How long do you think it would take Yeah, what do you think, Hazel? 80 million a second.
It would still take a long time. This is really...
It would still take a long time, probably. Yeah. The universe is really big. By astrophysicists' best guess, which is definitely a guess, it would take 28 million years. 28 million years, counting 80 million stars a second, to number them all. So maybe, on this longest night, approaching the universe from the proper scale means knowing that we don't know anything much at all. Right? The scope of the cosmos is unfathomably large. The scope of all that we do not understand is unfathomably large. The universe is pretty big, as Hazel said. So maybe something other than certainty ought to be the framework of our spiritual life. It is the season of the long darkness, and it is good to remember that ours is a faith that calls us into not certainty, but deeper into the dark. Ours is a church that invites us into wonder at the mystery of all we do not know. May it be so, and amen. And I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn together, number 363, Alleluia, sang stars. I want to invite you now, and this is different, to be seated. Please be seated as Kitty extinguishes our chalice flame this morning, and as Justin extinguishes all the light that fills our sanctuary today. If you're joining us on Zoom, perhaps you might take a moment to turn off your lights as well. And let us pause here at the end of our service for a moment of wonder in the dark. There is so much we are uncertain of. Much of it is too immense or too intricate to name. Let us recite the extinguishing words, which are different, on the screen now. Earth gives us the gift of darkness. We accept the warm embrace of wonder at all we do not know in a universe as vast as ours. Spirits of air, fire, water, and earth, we are grateful for your presence and support today. The circle is now open. May we all go in peace. Blessed be. And as we close our service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart. I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view in Zoom, even if what we see is the darkness of your home. For those of us in the room, from our seats here, let us take a moment to look around at those gathered today. And I offer as a benediction these words from Carl Sagan. Our feeblest contemplations of the cosmos stir us. There is a tingling in the spine, a catch in the voice, a faint sensation as if a distant memory of falling from a height. When we look out into the dark, we know we are approaching the greatest of mysteries.
Night comes, a Madonna, clad in